you guys know I've been working on this coaching search a lot.
Yeah, can I do this just 1 second? You used to think that Bozo Buckets was sweet, but let me tell you something. Hogue Buckets, which is about to debut in a second here, is way better than Bozo Buckets, and Bozo Buckets was sweet. Back to you, Hogue.
So, yeah, this is it's Hoge's Coaching Buckets is what we're going on.
Yeah,
on here.
just for reference, while we talk about notes in Notion, for those of you peel behind the fourth wall here, Carm had 500 notes for that first segment, and Hogue has none, but I promise there will be more information in this segment than we had in the last. I'm sorry.
All right. I already told you there wasn't enough time for this, so please let's get.
I'll be quiet.
Steven,
put the one shot. I'll be quiet.
Steven put in so much work to these graphics. All right, don't do it for me. Do it for Steven. Okay. I can't wait to see these graphics because I have no idea how they turned out. I'm excited, but we are starting with my top candidates. One of which is already gone. This is our top candidates bucket. That's a basket, though.
Yeah, what?
There's buckets and baskets. It's
the basket bucket.
Okay. The top candidates get a nice basket with a bow. That makes sense. It's the top level.
If you make a basket in hoops, it's also called a bucket. So that's a basket bucket. Knock it down.
It's not a bucket.
Anyway,
We're
Ben
off to a
Johnson.
bad start.
Ben Johnson and Brian Flores still available in this basket. Mike Vrabel obviously taken by the Patriots. I don't think we have to spend too much time on this one. We've discussed it, and that's kind of where I'm at on it. Now, this is where things get interesting. This next one,
Yep.
Better be buckets.
Well, we got buckets. We got popcorn buckets.
So good.
These are the respectable backup options, right? So we're kind of categorizing these coaches, and I think this makes sense here. We got Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Ron Rivera. These are coaches that have done it before. If you're trying to keep an option in your back pocket, if the Ben Johnson thing doesn't work out, I think a Pete Carroll's probably going to be available. Ron Rivera too, unless the Cowboys that settle on him. I got to be honest with you though. I spent my morning, I woke up early writing up Mike McCarthy for ALLCHGO.com. Go check it out.
Take a sip of your coffee right now, you people, for this moment in McCarthy Hogue time. Go ahead.
Respect the one shot. Shut up.
And I was very tempted to put McCarthy in my top candidates bucket. And I might still do it. I took a deep breath. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to take a couple days off here, actually, spend some time with my wife. And we're going to resurface out of the weekend with but when you really look at Mike McCarthy and the boxes he checks, I'm a little confused that so many people are so anti-Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to save some of this for a Rob Domofsky conversation coming up, but a lot of it has to do specifically with what he did with Aaron Rodgers early in his career. I think what we talk about with Rodgers is he's just this Hall of Fame quarterback, and that's what he always was. And if you actually read up on Rodgers and why he slipped in that first round and some of the reasons for that, specifically when it comes to mechanics and where he was holding the football, Mike McCarthy was a big reason why they fixed that stuff. So we can get into it a little bit more, and we will, but
well, the best thing that I thought Jesse Holly said yesterday, sorry to jump on you for a second there, but he's like, the Bears players are going to like this guy.
Yeah.
Players
love him. Micah Parsons is pissed right now in Dallas.
Right.
He's going to give them structure.
Yeah.
I
think when we keep having these conversations about how you need, the guy that's going to organize the building and keep things in structure, but also be an offensive guy to give the quarterback stability, there's very few candidates here that can actually check both of those boxes. Mike McCarthy's one of them.
So how much?
Ron Rivera doesn't do that. Pete Carroll doesn't. Ben Johnson doesn't do that, by the way. We don't know that about Ben Johnson yet.
That's the thing is, when we said it yesterday, that there are a lot of very reasonable and solid options, and Mike McCarthy is included in that list. He has a resume that, as Bears fans, we haven't had coaches that have that kind of resume. But as Mark Potash has said, every person that walks into Hallis Hall becomes a lesser version of themselves. And so, yes, Mike McCarthy has done well in Green Bay. Mike McCarthy has done well in Dallas. But doing well in Chicago takes a whole nother level of achievement. And there's so many things that need to be fixed, not just on the football field or with the roster or with the quarterback, but with the organization itself. So if Mike McCarthy can come in here with the cachet and show, hey, this is how I've done things and this is how it's going to be done, and we're going to do it this way, we're not going to do it your way anymore, great. I think it could work out. But if you bend to the way the Bears have tried to do things and how the other coaches have had, you're going to fail just like the rest of them.
So I would put this slightly as far as my McCarthy concerns in dating terms. When you get dumped and or you have a breakup like McCarthy's having with Dallas, you need to sit with yourself for a little bit of time and figure out what went wrong versus just jumping right back in. This would be a complete jump right back.
He did that in Green Bay, though. He did that. He took a year off after Green Bay.
Right, exactly. And he had
this guy won 12 games 3 years in a row. If that happened in Chicago, they'd build him a statue.
I'm not saying – I'm just giving you my concern.
We don't know what that –
And he did that with Jerry Jones, who's breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, having to deal with ownership, Jerry's I guess I'm not as close to Dallas to say he's a great owner, but he's going to pay you. You have all the amenities, but he's also breathing down your neck a lot more than even a George McCaskey would. So I think a guy like Mike McCarthy coming here in the quote-unquote heat that you get that comes with House Hall isn't exactly the same kind of heat you get being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, my last point on this, and then we got to get to the rest of these buckets, is just if you, my newsletter came out this morning too. If you're a diehard, you would have gotten that in your inbox this morning. And this McCarthy thing, you got to take it serious because this is going to be sort of the tell and how they handle this, how interested the Saints. Right now, this has been a slow, methodical thing. You got like Pete Carroll in your back pocket if Ben Johnson doesn't work out. I don't know if that's going to be the case with McCarthy. The Saints might really want him. So what happens here in the next 4 or 5 days, maybe week, will be very interesting because if he knocks their socks off, remember, they brought him in. Flying in private. This is different than how they've handled all the other candidates. I think you guys got to create, regardless of what you think of our opinions on him, you got to take it seriously. That's the only point.
No question.
All right, let's get to the other buckets here. These are the intriguing but risky candidates.
Basket bucket.
They get a basket, not a bucket. These guys get a basket. Todd Monken.
I'm getting more excited by Monken, but yep.
Yeah, he's intriguing, but risky because he's never been a head coach before. I think Thomas Brown continuing to work with Caleb Williams, at least in my opinion, is still intriguing. Obviously still risky. He went 1-4 as the head coach of the Bears. There's no guarantee that would turn around.
Beat Green Bay. Give him his props. Keep going.
Aaron Glenn, who I think is a name you got to keep in mind in Dallas, by the way. He's a Texas guy, grew up there, and I think he'd be a good fit there. Also intriguing, but risky because he's not an offensive guy. Marcus Freeman. I find him intriguing for a million different reasons, but he has no experience in the NFL, and that would be a huge risk. But I do love him the way he, has led that program and seemingly has it together. Same thing with David Shaw. I've always liked David Shaw, and he's learned under Harbaugh, and he brings you a lot of the same things as Harbaugh, but also risky because he's, barely, it's been a while since he's coached in the NFL, and he's just a personnel guy.
Just for the record, the gambling market, as we like to we digest all the buckets. Ben Johnson is the favorite by the, as far as if you're placing your money, followed by McCarthy, Kingsbury, Glenn, Flores, Carroll, Monken, and Freeman at plus 1,600. Johnson being the favorite at plus 175.
Well, and Johnson being the favorite, the number moved yesterday from minus 125 to minus 250.
How many more buckets we got?
We got no thanks and not quite ready left.
So we'll go no thanks. This is my no thanks bucket. Ooh, this is a good one.
Oh,
this is a good one.
So happy Matt Campbell made the no thanks.
Yeah.
One of the worst press conferences that I've ever seen in my press conference reviews.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Arthur Smith interviewing with the Bears today, by the way, too.
He's in that rusty, nasty bucket right now.
We can spend more time talking about Cliff Kingsbury in a little bit. And then finally, not quite ready. I think these are guys that will be head coaches. But as I kind of run them through the model and you talk about inexperience.
Is that a chest?
That's a dumpster where I'm going to put you one day.
Wow. Dumpster's aggressive. Joe Brady, Mike Kafka, Anthony Weaver, for those listening to the podcast. Those are your Hogue coaching buckets.
We all silly like the mayor.